Perhaps you have heard a news report say that GDP grew, the economy expanded, or economic growth weakened. But what does GDP actually measure, and what can it really tell us about the health of an economy? GDP stands for Gross Domestic Product. In simple terms, GDP measures the total value of final goods and services produced within a country's borders during a specific period of time. Let's break it down. The word domestic means the economic activity happening within a country's borders. So, when measuring the GDP of the United States, economists are looking at production that takes place inside the United States. GDP includes an enormous range of economic activity. A new car manufactured and sold, a meal prepared by a restaurant, a house built by a construction company, or a service provided by an accountant can all contribute to GDP. Imagine a bakery buys flour to make bread. The flour has value, and so does the finished loaf of bread. But if economists simply added the full value of the flour and then the full value of the bread, some of the same economic activity would be counted twice. Instead, GDP is designed to measure the value of final goods and services while accounting for the production that went into creating them. This allows economists to combine millions of different kinds of economic activity into one broad measurement. So why do we measure GDP? GDP gives us a way to see whether the overall economy is producing more or less over time. When GDP increases, the economy is generally expanding. Businesses may be producing more goods and services, consumers may be spending more, and companies may be investing and hiring. This is commonly called economic growth. When GDP decreases or contracts, economic activity is moving in the opposite direction. Businesses may be producing less, spending may be slowing, and investment may decline. That's why you might hear a news report say, GDP contracted this quarter, meaning the total amount of economic activity being measured decreased compared with the previous period. GDP is often reported quarterly, meaning every 3 months, as well as annually. This helps economists, businesses, investors, and governments watch how the economy is changing over time, but it has an important limitation. GDP measures economic production, not how financially comfortable each individual is. A country could have a very large and growing GDP while some households still struggle with high costs, low wages, or financial insecurity. Economic growth can benefit different people in different parts of the country in very different ways. One way economists add more context is by looking at GDP per capita. GDP per capita takes a country's GDP and divides it by its population. This gives us a rough idea of the amount of economic output per person and can also make comparisons between countries of different sizes more useful. But GDP per capita does not tell us how income or wealth is distributed amongst the population, and it does not capture everything that contributes to people's quality of life. Unpaid work, such as caring for your own children or helping an aging family member, may provide tremendous value without being counted as a market transaction in GDP. That said, GDP should not be viewed as a complete score for how well a country or each person within it is doing. GDP helps us answer how much economic activity is taking place, and if that activity is growing or shrinking. When you hear that GDP grew, you now know that the economy produced more measured goods and services. When you hear that GDP contracted, you know measured economic activity declined. Now that we have started looking at how the broader economy is measured, we can begin exploring one of the most influential institutions within the U.S. economy. In our next video, we'll explain the Federal Reserve, what it is, and why its decisions can affect borrowing, spending, investing, and the economy as a whole. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to Life and Money for more practical, beginner-friendly lessons about money, investing, and the economy. Thank you for watching.